good day or good evening. Evening, I like that. Evening. It doesn't really, it can mean essentially evening, but I like evening because it's evening things out, and I like that idea. Also, happy new moon, even though it was yesterday. And with that, I've noticed, and I want to bring forward some things to the speck of consciousness. Is kind of similar to one of my last videos about respect and control. And these two themes are romanticizing and believing or thinking that negative is always wrong. These are pretty big things. I've definitely fallen into some of these traps in a disorderly way in the past. Now I'm getting more to the articulation of I'm catching myself with it. Because, well, first of all, let's start off with romanticism. I wrote down if you Google it or use the AI algorithm, it comes up with this general definition. Romanticizing, not romanticism. Romanticism was something that had to do, it was something like a movement in the 18th, 19th century. And I'll go into the etymology of the word, but let me read you the definition first. Romanticizing is deal with or describe in an idealized or unrealistic fashion, or make something seem better or more appealing than it already is, or than it really is. So right there, when he's saying than it really is, it's kind of like you are not accepting it for what it really is. You are already projecting yourself out into your own concept or a pre-programmed concept of what it should be. And that's a schism in humanity. And don't worry, I've fallen in this too. So, and children, people, we are bombarded constantly every single day about things should be this way, and you should marry this guy like a Prince Charming. It's so romantic. Even though that guy's actually technically a narcissist, he just kind of looks like a prince or acts like a princess or whatever. If we break down the word romanticism, I looked up the etymology, and it essentially goes back to, well, you have roman, and then to sizing would make it's a verb-like thing, but Roman would lead to the Roman Empire, or it would go back to Rome. I'll read the Rome. But obviously, in the Roman Empire, even within itself was romanticized. There was a lot of fucked up things that happened during the Roman Empire days. One of them being was a lot of the emperors were psychopathic. They were psychotic. I read the story about this one. I don't know if it was an emperor, but he was a pretty high-ranking member of the Roman Empire. I think it was an emperor, and he was so in love with his wife or whatever, or this young female, married her, and just completely obsessed, to a not healthy way. And they did a bunch of weird obsessive things together. He killed for her, and then ultimately, I think he ended up killing her, or she died somewhere along that line. She died, and he was very, very, very depressed, or he was so stricken, and he didn't even realize how he was acting in this love affair, marriage, whatever it was. Then some weird circumstance, he runs into this young boy. Essentially, he's prepubescent. That reminds him of his late wife. And this boy was essentially a child, sex slave. He was thrown around in the brothels as not a female prostitute, but just like, you know, it was just, I guess that's how things were back then in that time space. But he took him out of that, and he decided to make this boy's slave, unfortunately, take him out of that environment. But he thought his life would be better if he decided to make this slave boy his wife. And in order to do that, he had to make this slave boy appear like his wife. So he made the boy essentially chop off his genitals and wear wigs and wear dresses so that he appeared more like his wife, because, like, again, psychopath. This is the Roman Empire, again, and leading back to the idea of romanticizing and themes that I see that are getting in the way of people being in their now space, being true to who they are. And that's because it's just a constant rampant thing running in society. We're romanticizing relationships. We're romanticizing how our life should be. And that's just, it's not, and you can plan and you can make goals. Obviously not to the degree that the fucking psychopathic emperor did, where there's obviously some sort of severe mental illness, missing empathy gene. But you're allowed to make goals and have ideas for what you want your life to be. However, when you're romanticizing it out of like a subconscious program of, you know, things that you're implemented with or seeded with in your childhood, it goes to a very different direction that nobody actually wants. So I'll let you guys go into more, look up deeper at that, and you can see that theme playing out.